is psychological safety? What is it? So this is a quote by the lady who basically coined the term, called Amy Edmondson. It's this sense of confidence that the team will not embarrass, reject, or punish somebody for speaking up. It describes a climate characterized by interpersonal trust and mutual respect in which people are comfortable being themselves. They don't have to put up barriers. They don't have to protect themselves. They can say anything that they like as long as it's done in the right way. And we'll talk about communication in a minute. It's that ability to tap into the collective hive mind of the team and get honest feedback, get honest innovation, creativity. All this stuff will happen from a position of psychological safety. You'll be able to know what's going on. You'll be able to talk openly about things and address them as they come up, which you won't do if no one feels able to speak up. Google, sorry, we'll come on to Google. What is a psychologically unsafe environment or a safe environment? Unsafe places, you get silence. People don't want to speak up. There's a lack of trust and respect, indecision, time wasting, the blame culture, the finger comes out, lack of risk taking because people fear the consequences of their actions. They're too afraid to do anything because they're going to be judged or laughed at or punished, and they don't want to make mistakes. There's this group thing. We'll follow what the group is doing. So there's no individuality. There's no creativity. There's no appetite for trying different things. And everyone is so focused on their self-preservation and the politics that this power struggle that's going on the team. And that's a mental drain on your energy and a lack of clarity. The opposite, safe teams that create they permit, expect, and allow psychological safety to happen. You get good communication. People can be vulnerable. And I know for a lot of people, it's hard to be vulnerable, but it's so important, especially as the leader, to say, it's okay. If you're scared, if you've made a mistake, don't worry, we can fix this. Trust, respect, innovation, risk-taking, all of these things, and ultimately better performance comes as a result. So Google did a study into psychological safety a study into teams, first of all, called Project Aristotle. And in this, they studied all their own teams. They studied all the academic studies of the last 50 years on what makes the perfect team. And they had some preconceived ideas about, who's on the team, what's it like. But actually what they found was the most important thing of all of the things that they found was that psychological safety is the foundation stone. And their model shows that, if you get psychological safety right, then you can create dependability, which is the next thing. Structure and clarity, really real clarity over what you do to give your team meaning so that you have impact. Psychological safety, science has proven that this stuff is that important. Now, psychologically dangerous teams, as it were, you get this fear of admitting mistakes, you get blame, less likely to share views, you get this common knowledge groupthink effect, as opposed to a team where you get comfortable admitting mistakes. You learn, You learn when you make mistakes. It's the best place to learn. Everyone openly shares ideas. You get better at innovation. All of this great stuff happens. So here's an exercise that you can do called the stinky fish. I love this as an idea. So maybe think about, could you have an open conversation with your team, and maybe a way of structuring the conversation is to use a sheet like this, which is what I do when I'm sometimes doing some of the sessions with teams, to get people to open up around their uncertainties. What's making people feel afraid? This is a great question. What is everyone thinking, but no one is saying? The elephant in the room, is what's happening in your team that can't speak about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to, be the one that puts my hand up and, opens the can of worms. But imagine if you could. And what are the past issues? Maybe there are things in your team that are holding you back. You can have this conversation, and I think especially if you're the leader of the team, it's really important that you lead the way and you instigate this kind of conversation initially, maybe with one-to-ones, but then building towards like the whole team openly with each other. Maybe you need some help with it, but this is a really powerful conversation to have to get people used to admitting things and saying, what's on their mind. So some tips on psychological safety, leaders, this is your job. This is where you earn your money. You've got to be the one that goes first. People watch you. They follow you. They're going to be led by your example. So be the first one who puts their hand up and says, hey, I don't have all the answers. I'm as scared as you are. I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm going to try. That will endear you to your people. Again, from a human perspective, Most people respond to vulnerability really strongly. They want to help you out. And if they feel that it's okay, if you're doing it, it's okay for me to do it. Secondly, educate the team, explain, that quote around what is psychological safety. I know it's a bit of a mouthful. It's, what does that mean? And have that stinky fish conversation with your team. Protect the vulnerable. For those people who do come with you and start, dipping a toe in the water, you got to really, really protect them. And the first sign that someone laughs at them or ridicules them, squash it, stamp it out. Do not stand for that behavior. For this, it's like a tiny little germinating little seed. If you're going to start with this, it's vulnerable. The first few steps are the most dangerous in terms of, like a little baby animal. Until they grow big and strong, they're vulnerable. So when people are like that, protect them, nurture it, support it, make sure that they feel that they're doing the right thing. Make a direct request. Will you do this? Will you live this new idea? It's really, really important. And again, the 3 R's. Make it part of your rituals, rhythms, and routines that are happening daily, weekly, monthly within your team for this stuff to really kind of grow.